There are secrets hidden in the simplest things of life, codes etched into what we taste, touch, and pour into our cups. When we rush past them, we keep struggling while the answer sits quietly in front of us. Many walk heavy with bitterness, rejection, and pain. They give and give, yet feel unseen in love, in work, even in their own homes. The world shouts, work harder, dress better, change your personality. But your spirit knows this is not about the outside. It is about the fragrance you carry, the subtle field of energy that speaks before your lips ever move. The moment you enter a room, people sense you. Some feel a storm cloud, some feel a wall, and some feel a sweetness that draws them close without explanation. This is not beauty, money, or status. It is vibration. It is spirit. Here is the secret: honey and water, two simple gifts, when united and prayed over, become a living symbol that changes atmosphere. Not charms. Not tricks. Divine signs. Honey carries the code of sweetness and favor, water carries the code of cleansing and flow. When your intention blesses them, they awaken memory in your soul. I was made to be cherished, not tolerated. A bitter soul speaks sharply, defends quickly, and unknowingly pushes love away. A sweet soul, softened by God, steadied by breath, cleansed by living water, becomes magnetic to kindness, honor, and favor. Think of the ancient promise of a land flowing with milk and honey, language for abundance and delight. Think of water as life's first medicine. It purifies, renews, and keeps moving. In the language of energy, honey lifts the frequency of the heart, water restores the current of chi, prana, the Holy Spirit's breath within you. Combine them in a prophetic act, and you declare, let bitterness dissolve. Let sweetness flow. Done with faith, your presence stops carrying the scent of rejection and begins to carry a fragrance people remember. Recall the times you were overlooked, made small, or treated as ordinary. That sting sinks deep. If not washed out, it ferments into a posture the world can smell. But when you rise and use what God placed in your hands, honey and water, you shift your field. You stop walking in resistance and start walking in resonance. People cannot resist what God has anointed with favor. They begin to see your worth, to value your presence, not for performance, but for the sweetness radiating from your spirit. This is not superstition, it is sacrament in everyday form. As surely as honey is sweet and water flows, your life can carry sweetness and flow in relationships, honor, and love. It reminds your nervous system that you were never designed to be invisible. Align with this truth and watch how conversations soften, how rooms warm, how even strangers feel compelled to be kind. Do not despise the simplicity. When you sip prayerfully, when you wash your hands declaring sweetness, when you breathe over the cup and speak life, you activate a mystery, the inner fragrance shifts, and the world responds. Honey and water, such ordinary things, yet when joined with prayer, intention, and awareness, they become extraordinary. For in every tradition, wisdom is hidden in the everyday. Taoist sages remind us that the soft overcomes the hard. Yogic masters speak of prana flowing like rivers. And the scriptures remind us that sweetness and light are divine gifts meant to soften even hardened hearts. The bitter soul, like stagnant water, grows toxic. But the soul washed in flowing water and sweetened by honey carries a resonance that others feel instantly. Imagine bitterness as a shadow carried in your aura. It sharpens your words, tenses your body, alters the field you radiate. People sense it, often unconsciously, and pull away. That is why some who are capable, kind, even generous, still find themselves ignored. They carry the smell of rejection in spirit. Yet when honey and water are used with faith, a reversal takes place. Honey is the archetype of delight, thick, golden, made from countless blossoms transformed by patient bees. Water is the archetype of life, fluid, pure, unstoppable in its movement. Together they declare, the season of dryness is ending, sweetness and flow are returning. Think of your life as a garden. Bitterness is like poison poured into the soil. no matter how much you plant, nothing thrives. But when living water comes, the soil is cleansed. When honey drips into that water, the soil is nourished. Flowers bloom, fruit ripens, fragrance fills the air. The same is true of your spirit. With bitterness washed away and sweetness poured in, your aura becomes a garden people long to walk through. And here lies a deeper mystery: honey and water are not only symbolic, they vibrate. Modern science speaks of frequency, resonance, molecular memory. Water holds the imprint of sound, of word, of prayer. Honey contains the condensed light of thousands of flowers. When you pray over them, you are charging matter with intention. You are speaking to creation itself: carry sweetness into my soul. Carry purity into my being. This is not magic, it is alignment. It is God using the natural to reveal the spiritual. Consider the countless times you gave yourself yet felt unseen. The ache of being unappreciated in your family, unvalued at work, overlooked in love. Those memories lodge deep. But in this prophetic act, you speak differently. You tell your body, your memory, your spirit, I am not invisible. I am worthy of love. I am cherished. And slowly, your vibration shifts. Conversations shift. People begin to respond not to your words but to your field. This is why some who look ordinary leave extraordinary impressions. It is their spiritual fragrance. Honey and water activate that fragrance in you. The bitterness dissolves. Sweetness flows. People hold you dear not because of your outer effort, but because your presence nourishes them, like cool water on a hot day, like honey on the tongue. So take this truth seriously. Honey is not only food, it is medicine, healing, energy condensed into sweetness. Water is not only drink, it is life itself, the first creation, the flowing stream that cleanses and renews. Together they become a key that unlocks doors of love, respect, and remembrance. Hold them prayerfully, and you are holding symbols of divine favor. Life is full of contrasts. There are seasons where rejection gnaws at your soul, when those you poured yourself into walk away, when friends vanish in silence, when family fails to see your worth. These are bitter seasons, and bitterness, if left unhealed, becomes a fragrance that follows you everywhere. Yet there are also sweet seasons, when honor surrounds you, when love flows like a river, when your presence feels like sunlight to those around you. Honey and water exist at this crossroads, they carry the code to end bitterness and usher in sweetness. People are naturally drawn to what is sweet. Just as no one willingly eats something bitter unless forced, no one desires to stay long in the company of a bitter spirit. But everyone is magnetized toward a soul softened with sweetness, radiating peace and favor. Honey is central here, because it creates an aura that cannot be ignored. Water on its own cleanses, but when it unites with honey, it ensures that sweetness is not corrupted, pure, untainted by manipulation or hidden motives. When bitterness clings to your spirit, water rushes in to wash it away. When rejection tries to weigh you down, water lifts the burden. When your heart feels dry, water revives your essence. And when honey is stirred into that current, you are not only cleansed but made magnetic, radiant in a way that makes others want to remain near you. People may not understand why they feel drawn, but their hearts will know, there is something pure here. Something I can trust. From the outside, it seems simple: a spoon of honey, a glass of water. But in the unseen, you are declaring, let my life drip with sweetness. Let my presence flow with purity. Let rejection dissolve and honor awaken. In energy language, you are shifting your frequency. In spiritual language, you are aligning with God's principle of favor. In mystical language, you are choosing to become a vessel of fragrance rather than poison. Pause for a moment and think of those who were overlooked for years but suddenly began to be recognized. Often, it was not a change in appearance or skill, it was the invisible change in their vibration. The bitterness that once cloaked them was gone, replaced by a fragrance of gentleness, sweetness, and life. That is the promise of this prophetic act. In Jewish tradition, honey symbolizes divine blessing and joy. In Eastern medicine, water symbolizes yin energy, soothing, balancing, nourishing the fiery heart. In Christian scripture, both flow together, the land of milk and honey watered by rivers of life. Each path of wisdom confirms what your soul already knows: bitterness is not your destiny. Sweetness and flow are. When you take honey and water in your hands, you hold more than ingredients, you hold an invitation to transformation. To step from rejection into remembrance, from dishonor into delight. It is a turning point, a new fragrance rising from your spirit, one that people cannot resist honoring, respecting, and cherishing. Now we must go deeper, because wisdom without practice remains dormant. It is not enough to know that honey carries sweetness and favor, or that water carries cleansing and renewal. You must activate this knowledge, seal it with action, and allow it to manifest in your daily walk. Many fail not because they lack truth, but because they never embody it. Faith without action is like water without flow, still, stagnant, powerless. The first way of activation is to drink honey mixed with water. But this is not about quenching thirst. It is a ritual of alignment. As you stir the honey into water, speak aloud: as this honey sweetens the water, so let my soul be sweetened. As this water flows, so let every area of my life flow with favor. Let bitterness dissolve, let rejection flee, let honor be drawn to me. Then drink slowly, not as a routine but as a meditation, each sip reminding your body that sweetness is entering and bitterness is leaving. The second way is to wash your hands with honey water. Your hands symbolize work, creativity, and touch. They represent everything you extend into the world. If bitterness has clung to your labor, if your efforts have been ignored or rejected, then this washing is a renewal. As the honey water runs over your palms, declare: from today, everything I touch will be received with favor. Every work of my hands will be respected and cherished. This simple act changes the vibration of your daily interactions. The third way is to pray directly over honey and water before use. Intention charges matter. Words spoken in faith vibrate into the unseen. Whisper or proclaim: as honey sweetens, so let my presence sweeten every space I enter. As water cleanses, so let my spirit be washed from bitterness, rejection, and dishonor. Let my life drip with sweetness, flow with purity, and radiate divine favor. With such words, you shift atmosphere, not only around you but within you. Consistency is key. A single act may bring a spark of change, but repeated with faith, it becomes a fire. Slowly, you notice that your words soften, yet carry greater weight. Your presence feels lighter, more radiant, more peaceful. Strangers smile without knowing why. Loved ones respond with new tenderness. Even professional doors begin to open. This is not coincidence, it is resonance. Remember, this is not manipulation. Honey and water are not charms to force outcomes. They are mirrors of your inner transformation. When bitterness is washed away and sweetness infused, people cannot help but respond. Just as no one can taste honey and not acknowledge its sweetness, no one can encounter a spirit drenched in divine sweetness and remain indifferent. Do this until it becomes more than practice, it becomes identity. Until you no longer just drink sweetness, but you are sweetness. Until rejection no longer finds a home in you, because your spirit radiates a frequency of acceptance, love, and honor. Let us pause here and anchor this truth in real life, for wisdom is only powerful when it is seen in action. Consider the story of a woman who felt invisible in her own marriage. No matter how much she gave, her husband ignored her presence, dismissed her words, and failed to honor her sacrifices. One day she began to rise early, praying over a cup of honey water. Each morning she whispered, as this honey sweetens water, let my marriage be sweetened. As this water flows, let love flow back into my home. Slowly, his heart shifted. The same man who once spoke harshly began to speak with gentleness. The bitterness that once clouded her spirit had dissolved, and in its place, sweetness drew love back to her. Another man, unnoticed in his workplace despite his effort, began washing his hands each morning with honey water. He prayed, "Let everything I touch today be received with favor." Weeks passed, and suddenly colleagues who once overlooked him began seeking his input. His boss acknowledged him, his ideas were welcomed, and respect that had been withheld began to flow freely. He was the same man, but his spirit was transformed. Sweetness had replaced bitterness, and the fragrance of his presence could no longer be ignored. These are not fairy tales. They are testimonies of how unseen truths influence the seen world. When bitterness clouds your aura, you can labor endlessly and still remain unnoticed. But when sweetness flows through you, even the smallest offering carries weight. This is why honey and water, when activated with faith, go beyond symbolism. They become a living practice that shifts reality. But here comes a warning: do not misuse this act. Honey and water are not tools of manipulation. They are not meant to trap someone into loving you, nor to force recognition where it is not divinely ordained. If you use them with corrupted intent, they will remain mere elements, without fragrance or power. The sweetness they awaken responds only to purity. This is the law of vibration: what is fake repels, what is true attracts. Remember, honey without water can mask poison. Some people appear sweet but hide darkness within. That is why water is essential. It purifies, ensuring your sweetness is real, not a mask. Honey without water is charm without integrity. Water with honey is sweetness rooted in purity. Patience, too, is vital. Bees do not make honey overnight, rivers do not carve valleys in a day. In the same way, this act requires faith over time. With repetition, the fragrance of sweetness becomes part of your nature, no longer something you invoke but something you embody. And when you embody it, even enemies will find their resistance melting. This is the quiet revolution honey and water bring, not by force, but by transformation. Sweetness is gentle, but it is unstoppable. It dissolves barriers without argument. It opens hearts without demand. It makes you cherished not for what you do, but for who you are becoming, a vessel of divine favor. Now it is time to reflect deeply, for reflection is the mirror where transformation begins. Ask yourself honestly, where in your life has bitterness taken root? Was it in your family, where sacrifices went unseen? Was it in love, where someone you cherished walked away without explanation? Was it in friendships, where betrayal left you wounded and mistrustful? Or perhaps in your own heart, where you secretly feel unworthy of honor or affection? Bitterness is subtle, but it spreads like poison. It lingers in your words, your posture, even your silence. People sense it, even when you try to hide it. It becomes a barrier, pushing away the very connection you long for. This is why honey and water are more than symbolic. They are a declaration: Lord, wash away the poison. Replace bitterness with sweetness. Cleanse my spirit with living water, and let my life carry a fragrance that draws love and honor. When you make this declaration, you are not changing others, you are changing yourself. And when you change, the world mirrors it back. Think of the opposite. Recall a time you encountered someone whose presence was so gentle, so radiant, that you felt warmed simply by being near them. They may not have been wealthy or powerful, yet something about them stayed with you, imprinted on your heart. That was sweetness. That was the divine fragrance that honey and water represent. And that same fragrance can flow from you, if you choose to release bitterness and embrace purity. Imagine your life as a barren desert, dry, harsh, unforgiving. That is what bitterness does: it scorches the soil of the soul. Now imagine water pouring into that desert, softening the earth, reviving what was dead. Then imagine honey dripping into that stream, turning it into something not only life-giving but delightful. Suddenly, the desert is a garden, alive, fragrant, irresistible. That is what happens when you let this practice shift your spirit. Understand, The true miracle is not in the honey or the water themselves, but in the transformation they awaken in you. You move from unseen to noticed, from rejected to embraced, from dishonored to respected. And it is not because others suddenly change, but because you carry a new fragrance. People cherish what is sweet and pure, and when that sweetness flows from your soul, rejection loses its grip. So ask yourself, in what part of your life do you need sweetness to flow? Is it your marriage, your family, your friendships, your workplace, or in the quiet chambers of your own heart? Wherever it is, honey and water are the keys to declare a new season. Now that the truth has entered your heart, it is time to awaken it through activation. Knowledge that remains theory is powerless. Faith without action is lifeless. Honey and water are not meant to sit as symbols on a shelf, they are meant to be used with intention, prayer, and bold declaration. This is how spiritual truths take root in daily reality. Prepare a clean cup of water. Add a spoonful of honey and stir slowly. As you do, let your words rise. As this honey sweetens water, so let my life be sweetened. As this water flows, so let my favor flow. From this day, rejection leaves me, bitterness dissolves, dishonor departs. I step into sweetness. I step into favor. I step into being cherished. You are not merely mixing honey and water, you are mixing your faith with divine truth. Then, before you drink, pause. Lift the cup and declare, Lord, let this honey water be my seal of transformation. Let every shadow of rejection in my past be dissolved. Let every relationship stained with bitterness be healed. Let my presence carry sweetness that melts resistance and draws honor without force. From this moment forward, I am cherished. Drink slowly, as though each sip is an infusion of sweetness into your soul. If you choose to wash your hands, do it with the same faith. Feel the honey water running over your palms, and proclaim, from today, everything I touch will prosper. Every effort will be honored. Every relationship I extend my hand toward will carry sweetness and favor. Hands symbolize your work, your touch, your ability to shape the world. This act shifts the energy of all that you create. Go further. Declare over your relationships, my marriage will carry sweetness. My family will see my worth. My friendships will be genuine. My workplace will honor my contributions. My community will respect my presence. Wherever I walk, people will cherish me. Such words are not empty, they are frequencies that align your life with heaven's intention. Speak also over yourself, I am not bitter, I am sweet. I am not rejected, I am favored. I am not invisible, I am seen. I am not dishonored, I am respected. My life drips with sweetness, my presence flows with purity, and I am cherished forever. Repeat until these words move from your mouth into your heart, and from your heart into your reality. Do not forget, it is not the honey and water themselves that bring change, but the faith they awaken in you. They are symbols, vessels for prayer, reminders of divine favor. But the true power lies in your alignment, in your belief, in the God who transforms bitterness into sweetness. Consistency is the secret that turns moments into lifestyles. One sip will not undo years of rejection. One washing will not dissolve decades of bitterness. Just as honey takes time to be crafted by bees, just as rivers carve valleys only by flowing without ceasing, so must this practice be repeated until it becomes part of you. Day by day, as you drink, as you wash, as you speak, something subtle begins to shift. At first it feels like nothing, just sweetness on the tongue, just cool water on the skin. But in the unseen, your energy field is being rewritten. Slowly, your words lose their sharpness and carry gentleness. Your presence, once heavy, begins to feel lighter. People respond without knowing why. Strangers smile. Loved ones listen. Colleagues take notice. Doors begin to open. The fragrance of your soul has changed. I have witnessed how even the hardest hearts soften before true sweetness. Enemies who once carried fire in their eyes suddenly lose the will to fight. Bitter people find themselves disarmed without argument. Why? Because sweetness melts resistance. It is gentle, yet it is relentless. It is not force, it is flow. And flow always wins against rigidity. But here is the warning: never mistake this practice for manipulation. Honey and water are not weapons to bind others or tricks to make someone love you who was never meant to stay. That is magic, and magic seeks to control. Divine mysteries do not control, they transform. Honey and water will not bend others against their will, but they will cleanse you. And when you change, the world changes in response. Discernment is vital. Not every sweetness is holy. Some people carry sweetness on their lips but poison in their hearts. That is why water is essential: it purifies. It ensures your sweetness is genuine, not fake, not a mask. Purity is what makes sweetness lasting. Without it, sweetness becomes manipulation. With it, sweetness becomes irresistible truth. So practice with faith, but also with patience. Bees do not rush, rivers do not hurry, yet their work is eternal. In the same way, your transformation may unfold quietly, but it will be undeniable. One day, you will look back and realize bitterness no longer has a home in you. Rejection no longer chains you. Dishonor no longer defines you. You will have become a person others cannot help but cherish, not for what you do, but for who you have become. And when you reach that place, you will understand: honey and water were never the miracle. They were the mirror. The real miracle was the transformation of your spirit, the awakening of your fragrance, the rising of your true essence. Now let us turn this wisdom into testimony, for stories breathe life into truths. Somewhere right now, there is a woman sitting in silence, tears hidden in her pillow because her family never sees her sacrifices. She feels invisible, like a shadow moving through her own home. But then she hears this secret. She rises before dawn, takes a spoon of honey, stirs it into water, and prays, "Lord, let my life be sweet again. Let rejection leave my spirit. Let my presence carry favor." She begins to drink daily, believing more with each sip. Weeks later, the same family that ignored her starts noticing her presence, valuing her words, showing her tenderness. What changed? Not her clothing, not her cooking. Her fragrance shifted. The bitterness that once cloaked her was gone, replaced by sweetness that drew love back into her home. Another man, faithful in his work, diligent in every task, was always overlooked. Colleagues bypassed him, bosses ignored his voice. In his discouragement, he turned to this teaching. Each morning he washed his hands with honey water, whispering, "From today, everything I touch is honored. Every work of my hands will be cherished." Slowly, recognition began to flow. Projects he once struggled to push forward were now welcomed. People who had dismissed him began to seek his input. He was no longer invisible. He was honored. These stories remind us, honey and water are not superstition. They are divine metaphors awakened into action. They teach us that the unseen realm shapes the seen. When bitterness cloaks the spirit, effort goes unnoticed. But when sweetness flows, even the smallest gesture leaves an imprint. But let this truth be clear: this act is not for selfish gain. It is not a charm to force doors or to capture what is not yours. If your heart is corrupt, the honey loses its sweetness, the water loses its flow. The fragrance responds only to purity. Honey without water is charm without truth. Water without honey is cleansing without delight. But together, they create a fragrance that is irresistible because it is both pure and sweet. So I must ask you, where do you need sweetness to return? Is it in love, where passion has grown cold? In family, where words have become harsh? In work, where your efforts are unseen? Or perhaps in your own heart, where shame and rejection whisper lies? Wherever it is, honey and water are the key. Every time you pray, drink, wash, or declare, you are chiseling away the walls of bitterness and opening channels for sweetness to flow. Do not underestimate these acts. They may look simple, but simplicity has always been God's doorway to the profound. Now comes the final step, sharing and living the fragrance you carry. For wisdom that is hidden dies in silence, but wisdom that is lived becomes light for others. Somewhere, someone is struggling in the shadows of rejection just as you once did. Someone cries quietly each night, feeling unseen, unheard, unvalued. To them, honey and water are not merely elements, they are hope, a doorway into freedom. By sharing this teaching, you plant seeds of sweetness in the deserts of their souls. Do not keep this mystery to yourself. Speak it, live it, and demonstrate it. Each time you drink honey water prayerfully, each time you wash your hands with faith, each time you whisper words of sweetness and favor, you are not just transforming yourself, you are shifting atmospheres around you. People will sense it, without explanation. The fragrance of your spirit will become an unspoken sermon. You will no longer beg for attention or demand respect. Your presence will command it gently, like the scent of blossoms carried on the wind. Let repetition be your ally. Watch this teaching again, let the words soak deep, let the declarations become your language. Make the prophetic act of honey and water a daily practice until it is no longer a ritual but a rhythm of your soul. Remember, faith is not a one-time spark but a fire that burns steadily. Each prayer, each sip, each washing is another log on the fire of your transformation. And as you live in this truth, declare boldly over yourself, I am no longer bitter. I am sweet. I am no longer rejected. I am favored. I am no longer invisible. I am seen. My life drips with sweetness, my presence flows with purity, and I am cherished forever. Speak these words until they are carved into your spirit. Speak them until the unseen bends to align with your declaration. From this day forward, you will not walk unseen. You will not be dishonored. People will notice you, respect you, love you, and cherish you. Even those who once opposed you will find themselves disarmed, unable to resist the fragrance you carry. This is your awakening, your turning point, your new fragrance of life. So rise now. Take the honey, take the water, and seal this prophetic act with faith. Let the sweetness flow, let the purity cleanse, and let your life become a garden that others cannot help but cherish. From today onward, let your name be written in hearts, let your presence bring peace, and let your spirit shine with favor. You are transformed. You are renewed. You are cherished, now and forever.